People who have nearly bled to death describe it the same way. Not panic, not agony, warmth, calm, a strange spreading peace. And that feeling, the one that looks like acceptance, is the most dangerous sign a trauma surgeon can see. When a patient goes quiet, surgeons move faster, because calm means the body has already stopped fighting. The human body holds roughly 5 liters of blood. When that system is breached through trauma, accident, or internal hemorrhage you cannot see, the body doesn't surrender, it fights. And the way it fights is the reason bleeding out looks and feels almost nothing like what most people expect. What follows is what the body actually experiences as blood loss progresses, documented by trauma surgeons, recorded by combat medics, and described by the survivors who came back from the edge of it. The moment significant bleeding begins, the adrenal glands fire. Adrenaline floods the bloodstream within seconds. Heart rate climbs, blood vessels constrict, and critically, adrenaline is one of the most effective pain-blocking agents the human body produces. This is the first thing that surprises people who have survived severe blood loss. In the early stages, you feel fine. Not fine as in nothing is wrong. Fine as in functional, alert, capable. Soldiers in combat frequently don't realize they've been shot until they look down and see the blood. Not because the wound isn't serious, because the body's emergency response is already running, already blocking the signal without consulting the conscious mind. You are bleeding. Your body knows. You don't. At up to 15% blood loss, roughly 750 milliliters, the body compensates almost completely. Mild unease that could be blamed on anything. You could hold a conversation, walk across a room, feel, in every meaningful sense, okay. This is why internal bleeding is so frequently fatal. No visible wound, no dramatic signal. Just a subtle wrongness, easy to dismiss, while the clock runs. Past 15% blood loss, the experience shifts. The heart works harder, you feel it, a pounding slightly out of proportion to whatever you're doing. The skin begins to pale as blood vessels constrict and circulation is pulled inward, toward the organs that matter most. Hands and feet go cold first. The body is making a decision without consulting you. The fingers are expendable, the brain is not. And then thirst arrives. This is the detail almost nobody includes in the dramatized version of blood loss. And it is one of the most consistently reported experiences across every documented account of severe hemorrhage in history. Profound, consuming, overwhelming thirst. Civil War surgeons documented it in field notes. World War I medics recorded it in letters home. Modern trauma teams hear it in every major blood loss case. The wounded reach for water, beg for it. In many accounts, the thirst becomes louder than the pain, the single most urgent sensation in an experience that by every logic should be dominated by something else entirely. At 30% blood loss, the mind begins to change. Confusion arrives like a slow dimming, thoughts that start clearly and trail before completing. The world begins to feel removed, watched from a distance rather than lived from the inside. Vision narrows, peripheral edges go soft and dark. The field of view pulls inward toward a center that is also beginning to blur. Then sound changes. This is the part survivors consistently struggle to describe. Sounds don't disappear. They become distant, muffled, everything on the other side of a wall. Voices go hollow. The world goes quiet in a way that feels physical, like being underwater. Time turns elastic, moments that stretch longer than they are, and underneath all of it, that warmth. Endorphins, released in massive quantities by a body under extreme stress, create a physiological effect almost identical to what opioids produce artificially. Pain mutes, distress softens. The emotional experience of severe blood loss, in documented account after documented account, is not terrifying. It is quiet, not dark, not violent, quiet. Here is what the person dying experiences as peace. Here is what the surgeon watching them experiences as emergency. A combative patient, confused, agitated, pulling at lines, is a patient whose brain is still receiving enough oxygen to protest. That agitation is the brain functioning. Imperfectly, desperately, but functioning. When that patient goes calm, when the confusion resolves into stillness, when the eyes go glassy, when the body stops resisting, Trauma surgeons call that the transition. It means over 40% of blood volume is gone. The body's compensatory mechanisms have exhausted themselves. The heart rate, which climbed through earlier stages to compensate for falling volume, now begins to drop. Not because the heart is recovering, because it is running out of fuel to sustain the rate. Blood pressure collapses. Organs fail in sequence, the kidneys first, then the bowel. The brain, the last organ the body tried to protect, now begins to lose its supply. Surgeons describe a specific expression that appears on patients at this moment, an expression that fits no emotional state associated with a medical emergency. The closest word most of them land on is relief. Survivors of near-fatal blood loss describe the final moments before unconsciousness in remarkably consistent terms. A narrowing, not to darkness, to a point, a single remaining point of awareness. Sounds fade last. In most accounts, hearing is the final sense that holds. Voices in the room persisting after vision has gone, after sensation has gone. A last thread of connection, and then not even that. No pain, no fear, no awareness of the body at all. Just a closing, quiet and gradual, like a door easing shut in an empty room. The survivors, the ones who reached a trauma bay in time, describe the return to consciousness as more disturbing than the loss of it. Pain returns first, not gradually. In a sudden, comprehensive flood, the body billing for everything it muted during the emergency. Then cold, deep and structural. Then awareness, arriving in fragments. And then, in almost every documented account, profound confusion about time. Because from inside the experience, there was no time. The world existed, then nothing, then the world again, with no sense of the hours in between. In those first moments of consciousness, survivors don't look frightened. They look surprised, as though they expected the quiet to last longer than it did. The movies show blood loss as loud, dramatic, a conscious fight against the darkness. The documented reality is almost the opposite. It is quiet, it is warm. It is, in the accounts of the surgeons who watch it happen and the survivors who lived through it, deceptively, dangerously peaceful. The body's greatest threat doesn't announce itself. It arrives gently, and it feels from the inside exactly like rest.